Anyone that has lost someone that they cared about knows how difficult it can be when you no longer have them around. I want to share my journey as a daughter that has lost their mom and how that impacted my journey as a business owner. For those of you that are new to my channel, hello. My name is Jessie. I am a corporate event planner. I've had my business now for 14 years. I love talking about all the unsexy things about entrepreneurship on this channel. And today I wanted to share a little bit of a candid video that I think can be helpful for other event industry business owners or just entrepreneurs in general. And some of the things that I had experienced through grief, loss, and I'm not going to ever say over, like you're now on the other side, because it's honestly a journey. And I'm still only 5 years post death. And so I'm sure there's still more things that I'm going to experience along the way. So long story fast, my mother passed away in November of 2018. However, she had cancer 4 times in a 10-year period. You heard me correctly. And she finally succumbed to cancer that had spread to her brain. And I had received a message back in March of 2018 that they found that she probably would only have 5 years of life. One of the things I like to talk about on this platform often is the importance of, one, mental health, and two, personal development. My perspective on grief may be different than yours, depending on how you lost your person, as well as your faith, and I would even say some of the ways you deal with mental health. The first time that my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was working still in corporate America, and my boss was amazing. She gave me the opportunity to have a schedule that once every 2 weeks, I was able to drive down and help my mom post chemo and things like that. Over the years, cancer has spread to another breast, and she had it removed, and we worked things through. And I was already self-employed, so I had a little bit more freedom to help and support. Then the final time was she was having issues with her vision, and I kept saying, "Go get it checked out, go get it checked out." And then that's when the doctor found that there was a mass that was in her brain, and they couldn't do surgery, and so they gave the prognosis that they gave. One thing that I learned in that season was my gratefulness and my gratitude. You may find that as a weird thing to be grateful for. However, the way that I choose to look at life is to be able to see the blessings even in the most difficult times. At the time when my mom was diagnosed, to me, heart and blessing like shines. That's how I like to look at it. Those moments or those glimmers of hope is one, because I kept pushing her to finally go get it checked out. Her doctor found it. The doctor had said that if she hadn't gotten tested, that eventually in a couple of weeks she would have passed away because of the amount of pressure that was happening in her brain. What would have been a lot harder for me was the fact that if she would have been in a whole nother state and I wouldn't have been near her and she would have just died in her house by herself, which to me would be so much more traumatic than how we decided to handle the process of her transitioning. The second thing about it was that I had the freedom of being able to go and take care of her. My team members and my vendors, they rallied around me to be able to be present to my mom. And this is also ties into how I always talk about the importance of having processes and being a leader inside of your business. So in those moments, if I would have had other strains on my career, I wouldn't have been able to leave DC to go and take care of my mom in Louisiana. And then the worst part about it was that if she never got diagnosed, then I would not have known that anything was wrong, and it would have been a while before anyone would have even been able to find her. So I feel as if we can lose people and we will lose people, and we as well will transition. But I think in those moments, it all comes down to how you view things and how you view life. So what I had decided in those moments was to have gratefulness, and we decided to do a bucket list. That might seem weird to some people, but I learned so much about my mom over the years of her life and over my life about perseverance and having a positive attitude. So we created a bucket list and we had family, friends come together and rally to do some really fantastic things. And to kind of give you an idea of my mom, like she didn't even want a funeral. We did cremation because she was like, I do not want to be propped up like some little show pony for people to be spalling all out, and they haven't even talked to me in years and things like that. That's her personality. So on her bucket list, she wanted to have a life celebration party. She's like, I want to know that people love me while I'm alive. And so that kind of gives you insight of the mindset that I was raised around and the household that I was raised around. With loss, there's lessons that you learn. I developed such an appreciation for every sacrifice my mom made, and just to be able to have those last few months to just be with her. I remember her doctors and nurses just saying it's not common for people, even on the cancer ward, to just have people sitting with them and just really making sure that that person is getting all the love and support that they needed. Was it easy? No. However, I wouldn't trade it in the world for anything. When she finally transitioned, my heart was full because I know it was hard for me to see her go through cancer multiple times. So I know how hard it was for her. Like by the end, she was just tired of having needles and having IVs and all that kind of stuff. And that's a hard thing. Like sometimes you just want someone to be here forever, but at what cost? I didn't want to see my mom struggling. I didn't want to see her just in pain. And so you have this moment, especially when you know that it's terminal, you have a choice to sit here and be hopeful that maybe something's going to change and then kind of almost be in denial, or just be in the space of whatever happens every day that I have, every day that she has, we're going to live it to the fullest. And that's kind of the approach that we decided to have. And so after she transitioned, I did grief counseling, and I had to be honest about how I was feeling or how I was not feeling. Me talking about my mom and the transition and all the things, the way I talk to you right now is exactly how I talk to other people. You don't necessarily get a doom and gloom for me, because the experience for me was a beautiful thing to be able to take care of my mom until she passed away. Like I know the exact time that she passed away, and I have no regrets. And that was the biggest thing for me, was to not have any regrets. At times I do have moments where I'm like, I wish my mom was here, because I had such a habit of when something good happened or when something bad happened, that I would always call her. And with her not being here anymore in physical form, I didn't, I missed that. So I had to learn other ways to be able to adapt. One of the things about the process was that a lot of our family just rallied around. So a good amount of first cousins, as well as my aunts and uncles, they kind of stepped into that place. So now I call, there's specific cousins that I call that are around the same age as my mom was. And they just kind of make sure I'm okay. They make sure that I'm taking care of myself and I'm doing well and all those things. And we talk like multiple times a week, just like what I did with my mom. So it's been changing what I was used to so that I don't feel as if there's a space of lack. But it took me working with a grief counselor as well as just a regular therapist to start to break down what were the things I was feeling. And then the pandemic happened. And I just threw a whole nother like a whole nother thing into the mix of it all. When I was talking to my grief counselor, one of the things that they did to figure out was that I had a small form of PTSD, which was because, having someone get cancer multiple times, the first time I'm like, okay, it's fine. Let's beat this. Second time you're like, okay, let's beat this. But then between the second and third time, I started having anxiety attacks and these moments of fits where I would just have a hard time breathing and things like that. So with working with a grief counselor, I had to get clear about what I was motivated to do in life. Because now a lot of my motivation prior to my mom passing was to make her proud. So once she was passed and I had to just sit in silence, it was like, okay, but what really motivates me? And here's the thing, through all of this, I still was running a business. And I don't think that sometimes we're present to the fact that as entrepreneurs, life doesn't stop lifing just because you have a business. In fact, life still lifes, and you still have to be professional and you still have to do all these things, even though you are a business owner. So I can spaz out on team members, I can spaz out on clients, but that isn't going to solve my problems. And it actually probably would make it worse. So it was trying to have this reality of me no longer having my mom, but also still pushing forward because I have to make money. But then I also have team members that are relying on me to do the things that I say I'm going to do so that they can make money. So you're in this world of feeling pressure. So having this pressure to do and be these things for everyone and still processing loss was very heavy for me at moments. And I had to learn that there were going to be moments where things were going to be amazing and there were going to be moments where things were going to be heavy. And that was okay. I had to be present to when I was masking, and that's a psychology term, a mental health term. Is like when you're acting like everything's good but things aren't good and you're sad and depressed, and or you're doing that toxic positivity where you're like, if I be positive enough I'll change how things are going, which are exhausting. And that was, I learned that through the process. Like, I'd rather just say, you know what, today's not really a good day. Honor myself, honor how I feel, and not make me feel bad or shame myself for not having a good day. So, through the process of grief, I had to be okay with not being okay. I had to be okay with shifting who I relied on and who was my support system. I had to be okay with the fact of when the day I get married, whenever that happens, that my mom won't be there. There's certain things that are never going to be the same, and that is okay. But it all comes down to how you decide to view it so that you're able to push forward. I often talk about on here to have a purpose, to have something that you're passionate about, so that you can still stay grounded. And depending on what your circle of influence is and whomever you lose, you want to always have that as a resource. Like, my mom was so proud of me. One of the things that she did during the period is that she would send me these random notes. At first I was like, what are you doing? She would send me these videos, and in the videos she would talk about how much she's proud of me and she loves me. And she always was that person that affirmed me. And so I never had to question, was I loved? Because I knew I was loved and I had someone that supported me. So when I would find myself in a place that I felt however I was feeling, that might have been lost or concerned or confused, I knew that my mom wouldn't want for me to just give up. So I think when it comes to life after grief, one, don't rush yourself. Like, there's no finish line to grief. Like, there's gonna be these moments where you'll be like, it's gonna be overwhelming, where you're just gonna find yourself crying or you're gonna find yourself sad. You're gonna find those moments of Facebook reminding you of X, Y, and Z. It's just gonna rub you a certain way and it's gonna make you feel sad. And that's okay. And that's a part of grief. So allowing yourself. And the second thing that I recommend for you when it comes to life after grief is get help. If you need help, get help. There's no badge that's given out for the warrior of long suffering. And if you don't personally want to go to a therapist, if you are a believer, your church probably has grief counselors that you can talk to. Talk to a family friend that understands what you're going through. But don't just stay in your mind about things. Talk to people. Have yourself surrounded by individuals that are going to lift you up. My last business coach, he would just have conversations and he'll remind me of like all the dope things I was doing before, and to not find myself so far removed from the calling that was on my life, because I wanted to hold on to the moment that I was stuck in. And then the third thing is just allowing yourself to create this new normal. It can be, what are you doing for holidays? It can be how you celebrate birthdays. Like, everything about my life when it comes to relationships with my family has drastically changed since losing my mom. The main reason why was because everyone gave me a pass to always be busy. I don't know if you can relate to this, but no one bothered me about always working because they were proud of what I was doing. And people just gave me a pass. But the thing is that as a business owner, you don't. Like, your time is the most valuable thing that you have. And if I am going to give everyone else my time, but not give the time to the people in which I care for, then what's the point? And sometimes you can do it a little bit better than others. So don't think it's not about being perfect. But life after grief, it shifts just your perspective on a lot of things and really about what is important to you. For example, when I talk about time, one time my mom wanted me to paint a room that we had in the house, that my grandmother's house that we were staying in. And I was trying to finish up some quotes and things like that. And my mom was like, I was like, Mom, can you just give me a few moments? I'll do it after I'm finished. And she was like, Jessie, I don't have more time. Can you please just help me for right now? And this aha moment, like this light clicked on me, because here for me, it's like, give me a few more hours. But the thing is that, those are a few hours that we didn't get to. If I would have lost those few hours, those are a few hours that we would never have because we knew what was happening, So what I think is important for us to do is just evaluate, like, what is truly, truly important for us. And through this process, because it is a process, it is a journey, be kind to yourself and allow yourself to go through the process, because it doesn't happen overnight. Here I am, 4 or 5 years later, 2018 to now. And I take it day by day. I do heart checks. So if I'm feeling myself anxious, there's certain skills that my therapist gave me to just remind myself that I'm safe. And then it's through walks, it's through breathing, it's different skills. And that's why I recommend everyone to do grief counseling, because your version may look different than mine. But I wanted to make sure that I was honoring my mental health and my body through this process, because that is important. So take the time to look at how this looks for you. Take the time to allow yourself to create community. And grief, it sucks. But it comes down to, how are you going to live your life after loss? All right, let's have a conversation below. If you have lost a family member, please share. And then October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I figured, why not share my journey with my mom with breast cancer, and unfortunately the grief and the loss afterwards. All right, talk to y'all later. Peace.